Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find us on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Just wanted to go ahead and show off the new oil tank for the scrapping furnace that I built. The one time that I fired up the scrapping furnace, it went through oil like it was going out of style. I mean, it ran through an awful lot of oil. So the little bitty oil tank that I have for my little foundry that I use here in the shop only would probably give it about 15 minutes worth of runtime, if that. So now I don't have actual figures on how much oil that scrapping furnace goes through yet. I'll get those here pretty soon when I fire it up the next time. But I wanted to go ahead and build a larger oil tank so that I didn't have to worry about running out of oil in the middle of a melt. So I was thinking about using, I had some 50-gallon plastic barrels. So I was doing some research on the internet, figuring how much air they could hold, because I want to have a pressurized system to be able to control the oil flow an awful lot better. And just when I thought, yeah, I can probably come up with something on those, a friend of mine said that he had just swapped out a hot water heater for somebody, and it was laying there in his driveway, and he told me I could have it if I wanted it. So what we have here is a 50-gallon electric hot water heater. I would have preferred a 40 or even a 30 just to make it easier to carry around, but you can't argue with free. So I took the hot water heater. Now it was leaking, and that's the reason that they swapped it out. But they're made out of mild steel, so I figured we can go ahead and weld up any leaks that we found. So I took the hot water heater, stripped it down, took all the insulation off, took all the fittings off except for the pressure relief valve. I decided to leave that one on there for obvious reasons. Now, water heaters are probably rated somewhere around, I would guess, at least 125 psi for water pressure. I don't need near that much. I'm guessing 10 pounds to about 2 pounds or so. So somewhere in the neighborhood of there is where I want to run this. So the last time I ran the big scrapping furnace, one of the big problems I was having was regulating the air pressure. If you can see, here's one of my little bitty air compressors. And this one's just real nice and light and handy to carry around. But I don't know if you can focus on the gauge there, but you've got 0, and then the next number is 30 pounds. Well, let me tell you, you can push an awful lot of oil through a half-inch line at just 10 or 15 pounds. So, regulating this down to the lower PSI that I need is kind of not really going to happen. So, I started going through my junk piles, and I found an extra, actually it was, I've got both of them, the oxygen and the acetylene. These are the regulators for an oxyacetylene torch. And I was going to use the oxygen one, but then I noticed that the gas one runs from 0 to 30 pounds in 5-pound increments that are numbered, and then 5 dashes in between. So with this regulator I can regulate the air pressure plus or minus 1 pound or so. So that's going to help out quite a bit. And then what I ended up doing was I took the fittings that were on it for the acetylene system, took those out, and then just inserted quick disconnect air fittings. So it's an inline air pressure regulator. Up here on the tank with the hot water outlet here, I just came in with a couple of reducers, 90'd it to make it, sit a little bit flusher against the tank, and then just pop it on, open up your valve, and you've got air pressure going to the tank. Let's see. Oh, had the tripod caught on the hose there. I went ahead and plugged the fitting for the anode, and then welded a 1.5-inch pipe nipple to the top of the tank after I cut a 2-inch hole through the top with just a bimetal hole saw. welded this 1.5-inch nipple on there, and then threaded on an 1.5-inch gate valve. So when you go to fill the thing, that was one of the things on my little oil tank. I just welded a 3/4-inch nipple onto it, and 3/4 of an inch is way too little to fill that tank up in any kind of decent amount of time. So sooner or later I'm going to have to cut that off my my little oil tank and weld an 1.5-inch fitting on there. So you open up this gate valve, fill it full of oil, or I'm probably just going to fill it half full of oil. I mean, 50 gallons of oil is going to be pretty heavy to move around. And this, I've got a dolly where this is going to end up setting up, so you know, I'll fill it halfway full and then just use the dolly to move it back and forth. On the bottom, you had the fitting for your cold water coming in, and then the fitting for the drain valve. So I went ahead and just plugged this one, and then installed a 3/4-inch gate valve with a 3/4 to 1/2-inch PEX fitting, so I can go ahead and have a quick disconnect oil line that'll go to the burner. I did leave the heating elements in place. So both heating elements are still in place. I kind of doubt that I'm going to need to preheat the oil at all. Plus I don't have, you know, those are 240 heating elements, and I don't have 240 available where I'm going to be burning or using this thing. But, you know, they weren't leaking, so I just left them in there. Later on down the road, if they cause a problem, I'll go ahead and pull those out and either weld those closed or put a plug in them. But then this morning I was kind of going over in my head what I wanted to tell you for the video, and I got to looking at it, and you know, the one bad thing about this setup, first of all, it's really big, and therefore it's going to be heavy when it's full of oil. But the second thing is there's no way to tell how much oil is in here, except for, you know, grabbing a hold of the thing and rocking it a little bit. With the amount of oil that it's going to hold and the amount of time that I think I'm going to need to burn the scrapping furnace, I don't think that's going to matter. But if it ever looks like I do need to keep, you know, monitor the oil level, I got to look in here, and both of these fittings, you got two of them right there close together, and two of them right there close together. One of them's plugged, and one of them's got the relief valve on it. Well, I got thinking, heck, I might be able to move the relief valve up to the top where the anode was, and then I'll have nice fittings to install a sight glass. So I'll have to kind of think about that and decide if I want to go through the hassle of installing a sight glass in there. But anyways, one thing I wanted to go over was, like I said, they replaced this water heater because it was leaking. So once I got the nipple welded on the top for the fill valve, and then got everything plugged up and was able to pressurize the tank, I was kind of figuring that, I mean, when I was stripping the insulation off, I really didn't see any evidence of you know, any hard evidence of a leak. Now there's some rust around the bottom, you know, and oh, by the way, these tanks, another surprise was that, you know, the gas water heaters, you would expect that the bottom of the tank would be concave. I didn't figure they would be on the electrics, but sure enough they are. They're concave. You can stick your hand all the way up in there. So even once you take the insulation off, it sits on the ground real nice and flat. But anyways, I was expecting to find leaks at the base of the water heater. But come to find out, the one and only leak that was on this was right here. And that kind of surprised me. So, and it was just a pinhole, I don't know, maybe 10 thousandths diameter, if that. So I kind of saw that little pinhole and thought, oh, I'll just weld that up, no even sense in putting a patch on it. Well, the second I struck an arc, man, it burned right through the side of that tank. So I went ahead and cleaned it up and, you know, grabbed a small patch, welded it on there, and when I welded the side, well, it was square. When I welded the sides, everything went okay. Welded the top, everything went okay. The second I went to weld the bottom, blew right through the tank. Ground it all off, grabbed a bigger patch, you know, that went a little bit longer. Welded the top, everything went alright. The sides, everything okay. And as soon as I hit the bottom, burned right through it. So I ended up getting a patch that's this size right here to get back into good metal at the bottom here. And then I got to looking, and of course I wasn't really paying attention when I stripped the water heater down, but I could have swore that this tube came out of the top, about like that. Which, if it was in there, and the anode, of course, came in right here, so went straight down, if it was in there and filling from the top, then that would kind of explain all the why the sidewall of this tank was eaten out. So I don't know, like I said, I wasn't there to pull it out. You know, you would think with a hot water heater that you would put the cold on the bottom and, you know, put your inlet on the bottom and then take your hot water out of the top. But maybe this one was plumbed in backwards. I don't know. It was kind of interesting though. But yeah, this steel right here, for an area about like this, was just paper thin. The rest of the tank seems in really good shape. So I welded a big patch on there. I air pressure tested it up to 15 pounds. It's not gonna, I'm not gonna pressure it over 15 pounds, so I just pressure tested it at that, and it held air all night. My little bitty air compressor does have a small leak, so it did let down overnight, but it's sealed up pretty good. Soak tested the patch and everything came out all right. So anyway, I just thought I'd shoot a quick video while it's in the shop and it's nice and quiet here. Later on today, I'm going to go ahead and take this down to where it's going to be in service at. That way I can get it out of my shop, get my shop cleaned up, and get back to working on some other projects. But yeah, that's how to build a larger oil tank that you can pressurize with air, how to set up the regulator, approximately what air pressure I'm going to be running for the big scrapping furnace. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.